Hi, and welcome back to It's Not Rocket Science. 5 questions over coffee. I have my coffee here with me. It's been a good morning so far. Emma, I know you've just had a quick slurp. I saw that just before we started.
I'm here with my mug.
Great, and it asks about a dog. I'm sure we might get into some of that. But anyway, welcome to the podcast, Emma. Emma is a professional photographer and has been for the last 18 years, and is now also coaching other creatives by helping them build sustainable, successful businesses around their unique passions, talents, and skill sets. And I'm really excited about this because I think that's a really great subject. Emma, welcome to It's Not Rocket Science. 5 questions over coffee.
Thank you very much for having me, Stuart. It's lovely to meet you and connect with you.
Terrific. So let's start with the obvious first question. So what is the sort of the describe those sort of talented, creative individuals that you're helping to coach at the moment?
Yeah, so I think obviously as a creative myself and having been doing it for so long, there are a few kind of key things that come up for creative people. I think a lot of, photographers and musicians and writers decide to start a business around their talents, and they're super good at the creative bit, but not so much at the business part of it. And it's almost something that gets in the way of, now I have to work out how to market my work. So I think given that I've been running a business for so long, that's where my expertise comes in being able to support creative people to run the business side of things, and also to get past the mindset blocks that come up with being a creative and then selling your creativity effectively for a living, which can be very challenging for people. That brings up all sorts of imposter syndrome and all sorts of other things, which I coach people around as well. So it's quite a multifaceted skill set that I've developed in helping other creative people with their businesses.
I think you've kind of gone into it, but you're starting to sort of explore those problems about sort of somebody who has a creative view of their business, about the things they try and do to market. And I know it's often something that my own background being as a scientist, I deal with people who are probably very technically competent. Yes. And they suffer with the ability to sort of not understand how the rest of the world can't understand the way they see their business. Yes. and to help them to explain that you need to put it into language which other people necessarily sort of understand. So do you want to just give us a little bit more background on some of that sort of, where are those hurdles that they try to overcome and somehow don't quite manage in the way that you can help them to unlock?
Yeah, so I think a big thing for creative people is the kind of taking up space almost, and the belief in themselves that it's okay for me to share my work and sell my work, and it's okay for me to make a decent living from what I do. That's one piece. And I think it's this slight lack of confidence that holds people back. I see I'll have people come to me and they'll say, I'm stuck. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do first. You'll have people who tend to try and blanket market to everybody, which, as you'll be able to relate to with your techie people, you've got to find your audience and kind of market to those people. You can't please everybody. And I think it's helping people to understand how to do that. And for me, I think the best way to do that is to actually just show up and authentically be yourself. And that's actually quite hard to do because it involves being quite vulnerable, and it involves kind of really creative work is often very personal stuff that people are making. And sometimes it's easier to make work that's like other people's because we can kind of hide behind that. But I know from in my own creative career, my own photography career, it really started to take off when I started to make and share work that was very personal to me, and that had a very strong message that I was passionate about. That's what connected my work to people. But that takes quite a lot of courage to show up like that, because obviously you leave yourself vulnerable to somebody saying, "Oh, that's awful, I hate it," which has never actually happened to me. So, and I'm sure it doesn't happen, but it's that big fear that we all sit with.
Yeah, no, I think there are two things that immediately struck me as you were talking there. One of which is, I think the one thing that, all business owners, whether they be creative or technical or whatever, often say, and I find very frustrating in my own um, mentoring career, is the fact that you turn around and say, so who is the person, who is your ideal customer? And they'll say anybody. And we all know that anybody is always the wrong answer, because it's far too broad. And the closer you can niche down, as you were saying, the closer you can get to the one person that you're trying to speak to, the closer you will be, and the easier you'll find it to market your business to them. And the other thing which I find so frustrating actually about all of this is people who sort of insist on, I'm just trying to get the word out to everybody, and if I shout louder across the noise, I'll eventually start picking up the customers. And you think, it's never that problem. It's never the sort of revenue type problem there. It's nearly always sort of, if you can actually sort of clearly identify the problem the person has that you're trying to reach, and then you can just offer them that solution to the problem, they're going to snatch it out of your hand. You're going to stop selling, and they're going to be begging you for it. And people start sort of looking at you and go, but that might only be sort of 5 people. And I go, okay, well, actually, those are the 5 people that you've said you want for your business. All we've got to do now is find them. And that's it. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. It's figuring out. I think it's, and it'll be what you're doing as well with your coaches, is helping people figure out where the market is and how do we speak to them and how do we get in front of them. And I think sometimes people are afraid to niche because they're afraid that they're going to lose customers by specializing. And I think, so I'd be interested to hear your experience with it, but I've found that the more specialist you get, the more you are seen as an expert, and then you become sought after, and then you can charge more because you are the go-to person. And it takes time to do that. Sorry, I've got a dog rustling around in the corner here. Oh, she's still now. And I think it's, but it often takes a period of time to get to that point, and you've got to be prepared to, I think, go with the flow of the business and allow it to unfold a little bit. There has got to be there's always got to be a strategy, but I think there has to be a degree of flexibility with it. And I've been doing it for a long time, and it took me by accident finding my niche actually as a photographer, totally by accident. And once I found it, I kind of hit the ground running. And actually, if I look back on my career, it also took me over a decade to start working with a coach, and it would have been so much easier if I'd done it sooner.
I come across that so often, Emma. So many people turn around and say, why didn't I do this at the beginning rather than at the end? Because, I've spent 15 years. I know somebody who said it to me recently. I've spent 15 years trying to build my business. If I could have done this 14 years ago, I'd have had 14 years much easier life. And you go, yeah, that's kind of like everybody, but we all, somehow somehow think that we can solve the problem on our own, don't we? And we just need to, I'm a business coach, and I've got a coach, and I only realized I needed a business coach after I started coaching somebody and thought, I need somebody to talk to, and I need somebody to sort of critique some of my stuff. And why have I not thought of this before?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been invaluable to me. I mean, I kind of I was doing okay for a decade, but it was meandering along, but there was no, I was firefighting effectively with it until I got to the point where I kind of hit a wall, and I knew I needed to change something, but I had absolutely no idea what to do. And getting that help, within 6 months, I had literally tripled my business income, halved my client base, and was actually doing some really good creative work. Because I think a lot of people get stuck in almost this starving artist myth of, it has to be difficult and I have to take on every job. And this comes back to that point of, we were talking about specializing. Sometimes you have to pick a lane and get in it and get on with it, and stop trying to, have clients everywhere. Because, it's kind of that phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. And then there is another part to it, which nobody quotes, but I just think it's so true. And sometimes we need a little bit of help to be brave enough to kind of to really go for it.
I love the way you're putting it. I love the way you're putting it. So has there been a particular a book or concept or something which has enabled you to sort of crystallize all of this and really sort of move your business forward?
I am a very big reader, so I could share a whole library of books with you. I'm forever reading stuff. So I think with creative people in mind, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron is a very nice book resource to have, because there's a lot in there. She talks about nurturing your creativity, which I think is super important for if you're effectively earning a living from your creative vision. Another two here that I have got is You're a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. She does have an acquired humor taste, but I think she's brilliant, and the way she writes is just fantastic. And also Ariana Huffington's Thrive, because I think another thing, from my own personal experience, I was at the point of burnout when I started working with a coach. I'd let myself get to the point of working myself into an oblivion. And actually, I think it's so important to remember why we run our businesses. And we shouldn't be living to work. We should be working to live. And I think it's so often forgotten, especially when you run your own business. You can get so engrossed in it that nothing else exists. And it's if you wear yourself out, you reduce your ability to make a living. So we have to look after the earthly vehicle and we be mindful of our health and everything as well.
You've given us some great content, Emma, and I'm really hopeful that there's a valuable free action that we're coming to that you're going to be able to. I think it's here at your website, and I'll just say it. It'll be in the show notes for everybody, and it'll be attached to it. But then you can describe to us what is the valuable free resource at creativesuccess.coach/confident-creative. So that's creativesuccess.coach/confident-creative. Tell us, what's the valuable free action or valuable free resource that we can pick up there, which will enable us all to sort of understand a little bit more how to push our businesses forward?
Yeah, so it's a free 5-part mini course that I've created, literally addressing the big issues that I have a lot of my coaching clients come to me with. So it's tips on defining your ideal client, pricing your work properly, how to show up authentically as you and why that's important for your business. There's a module in there on dealing with procrastination, because that's a big one for a lot of people. And just having a look here at my notes. Yeah, and it's just about how to kind of use these tools to push your business forward, and the value of being you, and how saleable that is when you're running your own business.
I love that. I love that, and I'm gonna be very cheeky. I'm gonna go onto that page any minute now. I've had a look around already this morning, as you could imagine, but I should go onto that page and I should get something myself, because I think it's a really valuable free resource, which is a hugely valuable for those people that are doing exactly what you're describing. Well, I've done a little bit of asking questions at the moment, Emma, and I guess there is one question right in the moment you're thinking, he's failed to ask me this, because that's the real key that I need him to ask in order to be able to sort of to explain my thinking and to get across what it is that I'm here about. So what's the question that you wish I had asked you? And then once you've asked the question, would you mind answering it for us?
So this is a very interesting one to ponder on. So I think the question is, what is the key to creative success?
Right.
And there's the question. And my answer would be, you have to just start where you are. Yeah. So often people are like, I'm going to wait until I've got a bigger, better camera, or I'm going to wait until I've done another course, or I'm going to do it next month. You will never be ready. Just start.
Do you know, that is a brilliant lesson. And I think it's one that we all need to take on board. A mentor of mine many years ago said to me, a poor sales message out in the world is better than a brilliant one that you're still crafting 3 years later. You will
Absolutely.
always find some reason that you're not ready to start. And I guarantee that you're never quite as good as just giving it a go and starting to learn from the experience of having given it a go. So I know it's a brilliant message, Emma. I love that. Absolutely love it. And I thank you very much for reminding us of it again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So important. No, so important. It's just it's kind of how I've managed to do stuff is to just go, I've had an idea, I'm going to execute, and I'm that's something I'm very good at. Not always so good at the finishing. I'm very good at the kind of executing. Then halfway through, I'm like, oh, was this a good idea?
So long as it's very, very important to remember, you never ever fail. You just have an opportunity to learn. If something doesn't work, well, okay, what worked and what didn't, and just do it again. And you never fail. You just have another opportunity to learn.
That's it. I love that piece of using failure as a signpost rather than a means to beat yourself around the head, is to look at it and go, all right, this didn't work this time. It's working for other people. So what do I need to change here? And to just incrementally change something and keep going. Because if somebody else is doing it and making it work, it's a proven idea, it's a proven product, it's a proven whatever. You're just missing something, and it's just, you've got to keep tweaking. And it's a journey. And I think that's how we've got to see life and business. It's a journey, and you've just got to crack on.
Absolutely love it. Listen, Emma, this has been a really fascinating discussion. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us talking. I think some of the stuff you've got is absolutely fantastic. And if you're watching this and thinking, well, I'd love to sort of spend a bit more time listening to some of these interviews we do, get onto the mailing list, and then you get an email on a morning of the talks that we do, so that you can join live and watch really interesting people like the creative success coach that we've got in front of us this morning, Emma. And you can get onto that mailing list by going to tca.fyi/subscribe. That's tca.fyi/subscribe. Emma, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us today at It's Not Rocket Science. Really appreciate some of the stuff you've brought to us. I'm going to look forward to seeing people downloading that cheat sheet that you've got, that mini course that will give us so much valuable insight into the way in which we can run our businesses. And we will love to see some more. I've just seen here, Ivan has just sent us a comment. He's got another book that you might like to check out, The Win Without Pitching Manifesto, which I should go and check out as well. Let's go check that one out. That's a really interesting one. Thank you, Ivan, very much for that. Emma, thank you so much for being on with us this morning. Really looking forward to seeing some of your stuff, and see you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been great, Stuart.